All right, welcome everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's the 9th of May, 2023. This is Gimbalabs Playground. We get together at 1800 UTC every Wednesday to talk about projects of some kind. We've been doing this since early 2021. We've been keeping track of it since October 2021. And if you look at this Miro board right here, you can see a list of the different presenters and projects that have come through over the last couple of years. This is a permissionless system. I can see that we do have to add some rows to this chart right here. Basically, the way it works is if you have something to present on, no permission is necessary. You could just find the next empty Tuesday right here, which I'll add more of in just a moment, and sign up for a presentation slot. Sometimes the people who present here are just getting into Cardano development and have like a wild idea they want to refine in community. And other times it's teams like yours who have built something that already kicks ass and you want to expose it to people and help us all learn how to use it together. So just want everybody to know that this space exists. If you have any questions, be sure to follow up at the end of the meeting. But without further ado, sounds like Lucas, you're in charge today. Am I handing off the mic to you?
Yeah, I can say hi for a moment, but the person in charge that I brought is actually Marvin. He's the CEO of Maestro, and Varder is the CTO. Just maybe I can have the first word just to say it's good to be back where I started in Cardano. Just today I was talking with Surab and going back on our chat like 9 months ago. I was talking to him about introduction to Cardano and things like those. So it's been quite a ride. And I'm really happy to be collaborating with Maestro now. So yeah, I'm not going to spoil the surprises. So I'm just going to pass the ball to Marvin to give us an introduction about Maestro.
Okay, yes, thank you, Lucas. So yes, I'll share my screen. I'll give a little intro about Maestro, and then Vado has prepared an exciting demo for us. So yeah, leave time for that. I need to give a bit more like backstory on Maestro. We've been working on Maestro for like maybe a bit more than a year and a half. We have been in the Cardano space, building other projects. You've seen us also with Genius Yield, and we just kind of, as we saw people build on Cardano and kind of trying to see the place mature, we noticed that there were a lot of like key missing pieces at the ecosystem level for developers. I think Cardano took a bold move in trying to use a new paradigm like the UTXOs, which really offers novel functionalities, like parallel processing and local transactions and a lot of things like Hydra, which are only possible on Cardano. And so I think we're just scratching the surface of really the power of UTXOs as a whole. But in the meantime, it also introduced an entire kind of immature set of tools where a lot of people are struggling to build on Cardano because a lot of the tools that were used by other blockchains on EVM were just completely incompatible. And so we have kind of like this 1 year buffer of people trying to figure out how to build on Cardano, a lot of people kind of reinventing the wheel multiple times, lack of standards. And so we thought it was kind of an opportunity for a company like Maestro to specialize in kind of providing this kind of core infrastructure that is generic enough for anyone to build on, but abstracts away the complexity of the blockchain, the complexity of UTXOs enough to kind of speed up development and lower the barrier to entry for people building on Cardano, but also for the future generation of developers coming to Cardano and kind of needing some kind of extra help, to get started. So that's kind of like the main idea, right? So we want to build a developer platform for Cardano. We initially got started with ISPOs. So back when the MERD ISPO hit, it got really popular. We had like this kind of flourishing a lot of ISPOs on the ecosystem. And so Maestro got excited into like running stake pools, managed stake pools as a service. We got really good at like just managing stake pool for other projects and helping them run their ISPOs and raise funds. So we've held multiple projects over the year, some bigger than others. And we also have actually a marketplace. So that's something that we've been providing since last year. This is a public marketplace where anyone that's running an ISPO can register the ISPO, and then you as a staker can find all the active ISPOs, even the old ISPOs, and even like the upcoming ones. And so that gives you an easy way to, instead of being in Twitter and constantly trying to keep up of what is the next ISPO, you could just come here and browse for, hey, I want to discover new top projects on Cardano that maybe I'm not aware of, right? So Neum is a great project that's been out, and being on this website allows them to reach out to, new potential delegators wanting to stake into their ISPO. So we have like a one-click way to provide ISPOs. We have some kind of metrics. We give you also like tokenomics, so allow you to do a bit of your own research on what this project is about, if you can trust it, and then gives you a sense of the momentum, right? So you can see it had quite a bit of momentum, and now it's kind of stabilized. Same thing in terms of participants. And you can see kind of the saturation of the pools, the margins, and delegate in one click. So that's been live for a couple of months, and we'll continue to add more ISPOs, on a regular basis, and allow people to discover those new projects. The second part for us is our platform. So we have here, so the first part was like funding our project, that was the ISPO. Then we want to focus on building application. So once you've funded your project, the next part is, can we provide developer tools and APIs to allow you to abstract away the complexity and allow you to build? And our final vision is around scale. So we want to provide kind of scaling tools, blockchain optimized applications that are already on Cardano can find ways to better scale and leverage the UTXO model to scale to bigger volume. And so I will jump from here straight to our DApp platform. So our DApp platform is what we released a couple of weeks ago. It's in a public beta. So right now we just have the free tier, but very soon, in potentially June, we will be launching our kind of paid tier system where you have like higher throughput and higher kind of like request volume. But right now people have been using this, and we've got some really good feedback so far. So I'll walk you through kind of the features of that platform, and then Vados will give you kind of like a more practical demo, and you're able to ask more technical questions about how we achieve these things and how it looks under the hood. For us, our vision, right, is really building tools for developers. This is not the B2C. This is really, we want to be the boring company that no one knows about. It's just developers enjoy using us because we are kind of like, we are providing convenience, right? We're solving the nitty gritty of handling rollbacks or indexing or making sure your node is up to date, all the kind of day-to-day thing that maybe could divert a lot of resources away from the main product of the company, to not having to manage that all the time, and kind of have projects with like small team and small budget focus on what differentiates them the most, right? Which is their application. And so we vow to kind of provide, high performance, ease of use, and then easy building tools. And so how does that look like, right? So we have our first product, which is our blockchain indexer. So it's a powerful Web3 API. You can think of it similar to Blockfrost, but we've really pushed ourselves to kind of customize our indexer and build our own solution around it to really be enterprise grade. And so enterprise grade is around, high performance, low latency, optimized for liveliness and accuracy. And it's quite a complex thing. Indexing data on Cardano, especially with the rollbacks, requires a lot of deep understanding of the ledger and the ledger rules and how the node interacts with each transactions. So we're very proud of our indexer. I think we came up with a novel solution to index on-chain data and make it really easily accessible through high performance API. And so Party Vados will show you kind of all the APIs we have so far, but we're going to continue to really increase those set of APIs. Like once you build a high performance indexer, it's kind of like a building block, allows you to build a lot of other things on top of. So one of the things we're the most excited about is what else could we build on top of the indexer, both people using us, but also ourselves what are other products or higher level tools we can build with that. Second is what we call the transaction manager. So I believe we're like the first to provide that kind of thing. We call it like a real-time transaction state monitoring. So it's a way to monitor and manage your transactions. So any transactions that you submit through the Maestro API get tracked by our system, and we then send you notification on the full life cycle of that transaction, right? So that transaction can, first of all, it can be rejected, right? So you get instant feedback of if that transaction gets rejected. Right now, we don't tell you exactly why it's rejected, but in the future, we will allow to pass the error and give you like very granular understanding of what happened to that transaction. Is it malformatted? Did that UTXO got consumed, or something else happened? Then it gets into the mempool and it's pending, right? So we also have a way to alert you when the transaction gone from pending to on-chain, and we've really worked hard to reduce the block delay. So we have almost no delays from when a transaction goes from pending to on-chain, which gives you a sense of like better liveliness of what's happening on-chain. And in most situations, you know, even like explorers like Cardano Scan, you submit a transaction and then you don't see it for a while. You know, you keep refreshing, you paste the transaction hash, and for a second you get cold sweat. You're like, what happened to that transaction? And then it finally shows up, right? But actually, it's been on chain earlier than that. It's just most protocols like Cardano Scan have a kind of a buffer, and so they need to wait a couple of blocks before they can actually tell you any feedback about a transaction. So all of their data is always a couple blocks behind, which makes Cardano feel slower than it really is. And so if you're able to kind of reduce that feedback with almost no blocks, you get a sense that Cardano actually gets those transactions much faster on chain. It's just most of the protocols have like these delays that kind of gives us always old data. So he's put a lot of work into that as well, giving you kind of low latency notifications, and not just for on-chain, but also for rollbacks. And so your transaction, even if it gets rolled back twice and then finally makes it on-chain, right, you'll get a notification for each of those events. So you can then, in your application, better track for the user, you know, what's going on with that transaction. Because it may get rolled back, but it may get included right away into another block. And so in that case, you could use those notification systems to improve the user experience, right? And make your application feel a bit more lively. And the last thing I'll talk about is what we call a turbo transaction. It's simply just an improved way to propagate your transaction. So especially when the chain gets when there's a high volume on the chain, it's sometimes hard to get a transaction through. So we've also set up a system that allows you to increase the spread of your transaction by being able to seed it in different locations. I'm not sure that's live for the demo today, but we'll probably make an announcement soon when that's available. So that's about it in terms of our 3 main product we launched with. We've in the last couple of weeks, we've had tons of projects, developers and projects using it and giving us feedback. We've got a lot of ideas to increase that offering and continue to build more higher level tools like these ones. And the nice thing is that they're all built on the same infrastructure, right? So that's really what we're trying to aim at, is build a core infrastructure that is good at doing a lot of core things, and then allowing us to build more higher level tools on top of that, but based on user feedback, right? So we're trying to get projects to tell us what they would want, what would be useful. Right now we have notification for transactions, but would they want notifications for NFT minting, or would they want notification for smart contracts, like events on a smart contract, or things like that? So there's a lot of things we can do. But yeah, so overall, we've got really good feedback. We're being used by a bunch of people. We're still in beta, and then in June we'll be launching the full feature platform. So I'll stop it there, and I'll leave it to Varves to give us a demo.
Yeah. Is this usually like Q&A? Do people want to ask Marvin any questions, or I go into my demo?
Yeah, can we pause for that for a minute? Yeah,
Sure.
anybody got any questions after that demo? or that opening. Mix.
Hey, I have a question about that supercharged transaction. Is it going to do batching transaction as well, or just it's like a faster transaction submission?
It's just a faster transaction submission, not batching.
But do you guys have a plan about batching transaction with your service or concurrent transaction, which some decks are dealing with? They are using 30 something a stake pool to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely talked about batching and parallel transactions because that use case has come up on the Genius side quite a bit. But for this first version of our turbo transactions, it'll just be making submissions more likely, given that it just
Great. Thank you.
interacts with the wider breadth of the network.
Sure. Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah, so before we go into the demo, actually just want to forewarn you that I will be dropping in my report into the chat so we get feedback as Verderes starts progressing so that you guys can make notes and we can discuss after the demo. Okay. All good?
I see hands. Do we have time for 2 more questions?
Yeah, sure. Okay, go ahead with questions. Was it Matthias or A?
A?
No, I think Matthias was before me, so go ahead, Matthias.
He might have had to drop off or something. Why don't you take it, A? Oh yeah, he says.
All right, cool. I'll go ahead. Yeah, just to suppose kind of a quick question. What I'm finding is a thing which the community at large is having issues with, is coming to terms with people's opinions or software embedded opinions in terms of what people choose to value or to prioritize over something else. I have my own, but in this particular context, I'm curious to hear how you guys are thinking about that and how you're going about communicating it. Oh boy. Yeah, because like for just what one kind of tangential question or thought to this is, one of the key criticisms of ISPOs that others have had, that I have had, is using the stake pool as a mechanism to fundraise makes a lot of sense, right? Even I thought about this even before, like way back. But then when it comes to implementing it, a thing which I never really understood is why didn't folks actually implement it in a way where it wasn't, where the custody thing wasn't just given over entirely, right? Why not create a script which actually creates a manner in which, say, folks can either opt for whatever token the ISPO pool op is giving, or the equivalent of ADA calculated, for like some equivalent ROI over time kind of thing. Yeah, I'm just curious to hear Matthias is back. All right, cool. Yeah. Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand what you're getting at, but what you're saying is maybe like have a non-custodial way or like a trustless way of doing ISPOs where people that delegate could have more guaranteed that they get those tokens back. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, not just a token, because a token could be worthless. I mean, for example, what happened recently with oh god, what the hell is the name? The
Cardano,
project which is now
Cardano.
building on or saying that they're gonna build elsewhere, and people are rightfully
Meld.
irked about Meld. Thank you. Yes.
All of them.
All of them. Yeah, because for example, in the context of Meld, people actually had the option of like, okay, I can choose to get my equivalent of ADA, or over the history of however long I have I've been delegating, or the Meld token. This, from a governance standpoint, this would have forced the issue, because in this case they just got all the ADA up front, so it wasn't like there was very little apart from like social pressure. There's very little to actually hold them to account to deliver on the promises which they made. So not
Okay,
just
yeah.
to make sure that they
I-
get
I
the token. Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe that's getting a bit off topic, because at the core, we're just infra providers, so we're just running those services on the behalf of the projects. We're not trying to kind of solve the fundraising mechanism in itself, and also our main product at the moment is really like the DApp platform. So there isn't that much. The market of ISPOs, as you can see, is not the way it was, maybe like a year or two ago. Right now, really the main focus for us is we are infrastructure provider. We provide kind of managed infrastructure, and kind of our main goal, I think, for today is really to dive into the DApp platform. And so, yeah, I would love to go deeper maybe in the DApp platform itself, because we don't have any announcements related to the ISPO. Right now, this product is just the marketplace, which is like a public kind of forum for everyone to see.
Okay, sure, but I mean the opinionated factor still stands. But yeah, sure, I won't get in your way. Go ahead, Matthias.
Thank you. I have a comparatively boring question. So a clarifying question regarding the blockchain indexer, which was introduced as an alternative to Blockfrost. I did hear that it's either wanting to be or is already enterprise grade. Can you clarify that for me, please?
What is your definition of enterprise grade?
Well, I heard it earlier, enterprise grade, right? And I think I think I heard it is as okay, this blockchain indexer is wants to be enterprise grade. So my question right back to you, what do you mean? And the second would be, is it already enterprise grade? If not, per your definition, when will it be enterprise grade? That's my question.
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. It's a term to just kind of encapsulate a few concepts, right? It's not there. I don't think there's a metric specific number. One way you can look at it is, are people using your APIs in a production mainnet environment? And then are there certain expectations in terms of its kind of data guarantees, reliability, performance? Yeah, and for us, that is the case, right? So we, among others, we have Genius Yield using both for their Launchpad and their vault staking platforms, using our APIs to access blockchain data and submit transactions. And they obviously, there are expectations around, yeah, like I said, integrity and reliability and uptime, right? So with a free tier, obviously there's like limitations and in terms of like, rate limits, right? But with paid subscription tiers, there would be even a higher kind of limits in terms of what we can withstand, like what we can provide and support. There's like number of queries. So yeah, and in that kind of respect, people rely on us. They give us, there's a certain expectation. There's a contractual agreement between us and the customer in terms of like what we provide to them in a production mainnet environment, and we are satisfying that right now for multiple customers. in that sense, I would say yes, we're enterprise grade right now.
Cool. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, then I think we'll just move on to the demo with Varderes.
Cool. Thank you. Can you see my screen?
Looks good.
Let me hide this thing. Okay. Haven't used Zoom in a while. Okay. Yeah. So Marvin really hit the nail on the head in terms of like our vision and the types of things we have built and are trying to build. As a start, we wanted to get something out there to the community that they were familiar with. It appeared to us that much of the community relies heavily on REST API to access data. Namely Koios and Blockfrost leading that effort, right? And so Maestro has a pretty wide and wide vision in terms of like the types of products we want to provide the community and other customers. Both low-level products that just give you data, also higher-level verticals that give you kind of more product-driven, more like integration type of tools. But as a start, we wanted to get something out there that people were familiar with, and the REST API is a great way to kind of get a read on that, right? So the REST API is something very simple. We have a reference page here that you can look to see like the types of endpoints we support across different Cardano primitives, right? Accounts, addresses, assets, and various other things. I'll explain how to do this in a bit, but you just need to generate an API key from the dashboard and then use that in your curl commands to access the data. So we also have a Haskell SDK we just released open source that you can use with the API key. And we will soon release within a few weeks a TypeScript SDK. We're also integrating with both Lucid and Mesh. So you'll be able to use Maestro as a data provider for those frameworks as well. And obviously, as we mature, as we grow, we'll be more and more integrated with the rest of these open source tools, and people will be able to use us to access data. So just as an example, I'll just log in. And this is pretty standard for kind of infra API products, not just in Cardano, but other blockchains and just more generally, right? Here, I'll just create a pre-prod project. It will create an API key for me. I'll just copy it. I have a Postman environment set up just for my demoing and testing. I'll just copy that as a API key header here in my Postman environment, and let's run a few queries. So I'm not going to run each and every one of these right now. Let's one good one, kind of easy to kind of wrap your mind around, is the chain tip, right? It's just showing at the tip of the chain some details about that block, that particular block. Another one that's interesting that is being very heavily utilized by folks like Genius Yield is UTXOs by addresses. So it's a post request where the user passes in a list of addresses in the request body, and then we return to them all of the UTXOs across all of those addresses. And so this is obviously paginated because it could be a potentially extremely long list of UTXOs. And so here's an example where we just, I found some addresses on pre-prod, and I will, submit this query. We have one interesting parameter here called resolve datums, and I've set that to true. Resolve datums basically just deserializes the datum that's in the UTXO, and so you can see those datums.
Thank you for that. That's a big one.
Oh, okay, great. Well, I'm happy that you like it. Okay, so cool. So again, REST API standard. It's also, it makes sense to me why the ecosystem wants to use this type of protocol, because it's very simple. It's well known. A lot of different developers from different ecosystems could come in and be able to use the REST API to interact with Cardano quickly and easily. And it really demystifies a lot of the complexities around Cardano and Ouroboros, right? And so it's good to see that kind of the industry is headed towards, is really embracing this paradigm. So yeah, so where Cardano, where Maestro really shines is, that really sets us apart is this transaction management system. So I'm going to actually show a demo of the transaction manager, and it's a webhook based system where you create a webhook, you pass in a URL that you want your notifications to be sent to, and we then notify you on state changes pertaining to transactions that you've submitted to our API. So I'm going to actually run an ngrok proxy server. ngrok is a really convenient tool for running a proxy locally and exposing it with a public URL. So I just ran a fresh ngrok server here. I'm going to copy this forwarding URL. And it comes with a really handy dashboard where you can inspect payloads that are coming into your webhook, essentially, which will be soon a webhook. So I'm going to go to the transactions page of the Maestro dashboard, and I'm going to create a webhook. It has to be associated with the project, which I just created. And we'll just call this, again, Gimbalabs webhook demo. And then I'll pass in the URL for the public URL that ngrok is exposing that I can use. Cool. So it's currently active. What I'm going to do then is, using the API key, I'm going to submit a transaction. So I've actually prepared a transaction that's was created by Eternal, and it wasn't it was signed, but it wasn't submitted. So I just signed it and downloaded it. And that transaction is right here. Hopefully no one figured out a way to consume these UTXOs that are in here. So it's been a couple of hours since I had this prepared. I highly doubt it, but who knows? So I'm just going to create, since our endpoint for submitting transactions, and we can look at that right here. Before I actually submit the transaction, I want to highlight an important difference here. So Submit TX is what everyone knows and loves with the IOG Cardano Submit API. And if you use this, it'll actually just give you the Haskell deserialized CBOR string, the CBOR string of what the node tells you, as if you were to submit directly to the node. But it won't get monitored by Maestro. This is just a way for people to, if they just want to achieve like exact parity between what they potentially run locally and Maestro, they can just use Submit TX. If you want your transaction to be monitored, however, we have a separate endpoint for that, which is a post request to just /transactions. We'll have other endpoints here associated with your transaction suit, but this is just for now a submit transaction endpoint, and it's meant to be a drop-in replacement to Submit TX. And it takes as payload as its data body. It takes a binary stream as of the transaction, the signed transaction that you're trying to submit to the network. So I have the transaction here with the CBOR hex. I'm going to create a binary stream of that transaction, and I'm going to store it somewhere where my Postman environment is aware. And we're just going to go in and attempt to, I just created that 138. Yep, this is my pre-prod signed transaction CBOR, and I'm going to submit it. Before I submit it, I want to show the transaction, make sure I am able to show the transaction pending here afterwards. So let's hope this works. Oh, it was rejected by the node. That's not good.
Expired.
Not actually. Oh, is it expired? Okay. Let me maybe create another transaction with Eternal right now. Why not? So I will receive and send transaction here to 250 test data. I'll sign it and I'll download it. I'll bring it here. And let me do it here. Text file. I'll rerun this. Boom. And then I'll reload that transaction. 140. Okay. Try it again. Boom. So we have a transaction hash. We should have a pending state here shortly. Or has it already been confirmed? Okay. So it looks like I couldn't make it in time to see the pending state. So it's already been
Oh, so it's
pending and
fast.
now it's, yeah, it's pretty fast. I tried to refresh it, but more interestingly, we could see here, I'm not handling the request properly on it. It's just an ngok proxy. So that's why you're seeing the 4-bit in here. But as you can see, I did get a notification here that it was indeed submitted on chain and at 0 confirmations and the block number by which it was submitted or landed on chain. So yeah, that is a very quick and dirty kind of demo of some of the API endpoints we support with the REST API, and also a transaction notification from our transaction manager from one that I just created. Yeah, I mean, yeah, with that being said, right, like please log into Maestro. It's very easy. There's only currently a free tier until early June. We'll have subscription tiers for different use cases. But please, log in, test it out, try to break it, and provide any feedback and feature requests that we can potentially incorporate and improve the platform for the community, for customers, for everyone in between. So yeah, that's really all I have. Happy to answer any questions.
Maybe could you just show us a bit more of the dashboard part? It's about the
Sure.
projects and.
Absolutely. So yeah,
you
our dashboard. You mean the platform dashboard?
Just pointing out, we're going to have metrics in there eventually or soon, where you can see the request volumes that you're putting through and more things on the project level as well.
Yeah, this is all going to be released with the V1 in, like I said, early June. Thanks for pointing that out. We have, kind of overview metrics. There'll be overview metrics here as well. Total number of requests, total number of like invalid requests, those kinds of things, total number of webhook events, and then just project kind of level request volume here. And then for each project, we'll have project specific metrics. One that's particularly interesting is around query distribution. So it'll show you, how many times you made requests to particular endpoints. And then there are other ones that we have on the pipeline as well. And then finally, transactions will stay the same. And then if we have future event-based products, they'll have their own sections. So we're speccing out an asset monitoring service that we don't know exactly when we'll release that, but that will have kind of its own customized kind of widget and dashboard that is catering specifically to someone that's trying to manage and monitor their assets. So, and many things like that that's on the horizon. So, anything else, Lucas, that I forgot?
No, I think that's good in terms of these features. I was looking at Chris now, and it crossed my mind before we go into the Q&A. Chris was recently in the Cardano Blockchain Infrastructure Alliance presenting how it was to build another project he did. Maybe as a dev, speaking in front of devs here, do you want to share some insights about Maestro?
Sure. Sorry, about which part?
Performance, TX monitoring.
Oh man, yeah. So I mean, it's built a lot of different ways. I would definitely say, as James was applauding earlier, the UTXO endpoints on address is awesome. Like we've been looking at a project together, and part of the thing is that's exactly what we need. We need UTXOs from address, and looking at some of the other APIs that were available out there and trying to be able to get that information, it would be, you know, multiple API calls before we started to fetch the information that's also paginated. And so having things into like a consolidated API like that definitely makes a big difference in, you know, like what we're able to do. And, you know, we're able to focus more on the business logic of the application faster. So that definitely is always a win in my book when I'm not spending time, you know, spending it on the remote API, but rather spending it on, you know, doing something with the data I've already got back.
Okay, great stuff. Guys, any questions about the demo and about Chris's input here? I'm gonna just do a comment on the Miro board to try to bring it back down on the chat and invite you again to come in on Miro. And I'm gonna share my screen in a sec, but I think Mix had his hand up, no?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, and one maybe recommendation for future features. Maybe you guys are interested. And my question is about the datum and metadata. I mean, is it possible for you guys to show us how does it look like? How does it get serialized, deserialized? Because I didn't see anything about metadata showing on dashboard also. So I wonder about how you guys serialize, deserialize, and showing that datum, and how we can kind of use those different field of the datum for any use case. And about the feature, well, you know, one of the things that we are working on certification working group is something to create a way for parameterized contract to get certified. So if you guys are interested, I don't know if you guys, just I'm asking, if you are guys interested, maybe we can work on that solution as well. So Mastro become a service for certification of dApps as well, for flexible and parameterized contract, and providing that endpoint to other people. And there are other things that the whole certification process rely on the wallet of, at least for the first version, wallet of certification issuer entities. So again, resolving that would be a kind of challenge for wallets, which again, we are working to update the SIP30 for wallets. So again, maybe Mastro can come in this space as well. So if you guys are interested in certification and come into data space, I would love to discuss with you guys and invite you, of course, with the certification, IOG certification working group. But beside that, yeah, I would like to see if it is possible for today to see about the datum and metadata especially. But overall, thank you very much. Really great stuff.
So you want to see like the maybe more responses, example of responses, how they look like?
Yeah, exactly. Datums and metadata especially. Like how do you guys serialize it and showing REST API in the response?
Yeah, so for example, the UTX2 with multiple addresses, right? So we have like in documentation, you can see how it all comes together. You can see our assets. So here, this is the datum. So it will tell you if it's inline datum or not. And then we'll give you like the hash or the bit or the byte strings. We'll also give you like the script. So we have 3 types of scripts, right? Native scripts, Pluto's v1, Pluto's v2. So we'll also give you the script.
So you guys not decoding the CBOR. You're just giving the CBOR. Like those bytes you are showing is not. I mean, you guys are not deserializing that CBOR code, right? At least for now.
No, it is also in the JSON.
Well, this is the ADA amount, right? Or...
Oh wait, right. Sorry. Right. No, it's not. It's not fully deserialized. But here, let me. I can show you another example where we're using it. Actually, James, do you have what we were doing with the DNS in front of you? I don't.
You just need an address that has some good data.
Yes.
I got a pre-prod one for you.
Perfect.
And when it comes also with like assets, we put a lot of time into returning different metadata types. So for example, for the asset endpoints, we have the CIP 25. We also have CIP, let me see, which one is it?
It's above that one.
68.
68 is above, is the first one.
Yeah, right here.
Scroll up.
CIP 68. So we're putting also a lot of effort into passing on assets with different standards so that you have access to the standard that you need.
I just dropped a pre-prod contract address with some fun data in it. And this is actually, I was just dropping in the chat. I mean, we're having students kind of build up their knowledge step by step in the Plutus PBL course that we're running right now. PBL stands for project-based learning, for anybody who hasn't heard that. And one of the problems they run into at the end of the most recent project is that there's no straightforward way, given the tools that we've shown them so far, to pull reference script CBOR right off the chain. And so when you see something like this, it's great. But also just the added efficiency of that inline datum is so awesome. That just opens up so many more uses.
Exactly. Especially reference datum, oracles, and all those
exactly
the stuff we are going to use.
Anything following the CIP 68 standard, this is so essential. So yeah, we'll replace the contributor board eventually. Right now, it's just a vanilla GraphQL query, but that can get unreliable sometimes. We'll replace that, but I want students to kind of see that happen and not just magically appear one day.
No plans to support 62, but we'll happily look into that. Nice. Thanks.
Okay, so is someone picking up that address that James shared?
Oh yeah, did you want to
Chris?
see us? Did someone want to run it? I mean, I
think
actually ran
James
it
was
on my
sending
end.
it to Chris, no?
No, James grabbed it and threw it in the chat. Yeah, you want to run it, Vardaras, and just
Okay.
Yeah. Sure, it's right here. Can you see?
Yeah, I see. I think that's inside the JSON. That's a deserialized CBOR. Yeah,
Just
that's
right
great.
there, ready to go. Yeah. For anybody familiar with the PBL course, you'll recognize this as the initialized contributor reference datum. And here's a student who changed their lucky number and has mastered a few modules. And this, if we could do this at live coding anytime, right? Look at how it's currently handled. And like Chris is saying, the several steps we have to go through to make this data appear on the screen. And so this cuts time dramatically.
A lot of time.
Yeah.
This is really amusing for me because I keep hearing about these things and it's all so cryptic, and now it's just there, just all the variables. So it's really good. So I'm just going to share my screen and take you through the Miro board that I put together. Maybe that can, I don't know if anyone else has questions on the chat. I'm having some trouble following. So please just unmute and come out with your questions. There we go. Can you see this? My robot?
Looks good.
Cool. So it's just to try to spread out the ideas obviously the title is Maestro at Gimbalabs Playground. It's just a feedback board for anyone who wants to drop by now or later if they have some thoughts. It's going to be up indefinitely. And what I did here was put together some points of strengths around Maestro. And there's a space where you can give us your thoughts in overall about Maestro. Here, I was already, in the spirit of what I often do on calls, making notes as I go. And so here there's the two main features, which is the high performance indexer that results in a Web3 API, transaction monitoring. So around here, we have the API reference, some guides, for example, the ngrok guide that Varderes was taking us over. The enterprise part comes to high performance on your calls per second. So you can do 10 calls, 50 calls. It's pretty fast. And reliability, uptime, and everything. What I put here was what we've been mentioning in the call, but obviously there's a lot else that can be added there. Marvin also mentioned handling rollbacks with the transaction monitoring, and that situation where when you submit a TX, you don't actually lose sight of it if you use this type of service to get information on your transaction. Here, there's a link for a transaction state machine. Maybe I can share that just very briefly, just because this was one of the first things I helped on with Maestro when I came on board, and I'm really proud of the detail that Varderes and Marvin were able to contribute here, because you really can see exactly what's happening with the transactions and how we are, how things work and how we interpreted it into our state machine diagram, which, by the way, is going to be extended a bit further down the line, right, Varderes? So he was just telling me that this is the states that we are going over currently, because as we've said, we're not just, dropping thing, doing submit API and that's it. We're doing the monitoring of the TX. And yeah, again, if I really invite you to go over the documents and browse a bit, because there's a lot of things here that can help you get to know a bit better what we do. So coming out of that, this was in there. And so if you have any ideas around, like Mix was saying, I can just grab it from my notes here to have the unserialized, I'll add it in a sec, to have the unserialized CBOR and datums and all those things. So this is something that we are really proud to put into place and to make it available to you guys. And so this is the current features. And then upcoming features, there's the turbo transactions, which we would appreciate any feedback that you guys have on this. Like I was just saying, expanded TX states on the transitions. So let's keep an eye on those coming down the pipe. And from you guys as well, any ideas for more endpoints, which, by the way, Varderes already showed, but I'm just going to flash here a bit as well. The full reference for the Maestro Web3 API. So you can come here as well. This is something that, for example, what Marvin was showing on the documentation there on the, so here we have some highlights of our endpoints per each section, or per each endpoint actually. If we go, for example, there, we can see a bit the same information, but in a different presentation. And there, this is the full one. So while here, if we go to assets, you just have 3 that we're highlighting. Here you'll have the full thing with a lot more detail. And encourage you to go over it and let us know what you feel. If there's anything that you feel can be improved, it's one of the points that I'm really promoting here, is that you get to work very, very close to our team. And we're doing that with a number of clients and partners and, people that are helping us almost on a daily basis, giving us feedback on how it can improve and what they need. And to that effect, really want to, try to ask you guys, what do you think in general that developers need? For example, Mix was talking about the parameterized smart contracts, certification. I'm not really sure how that could, maybe that's a question for Varderes, how we could work on that, or maybe we can take it offline. But yeah, let us know what you think could be like we're completely missing that's not in our radar, and maybe we can make it come true. We'll certainly take a deep look at it, especially if you highlight how valuable it will be. Yeah, you're a bit more specific to this forum of devs. What do you think that from the Gimbalab, maybe this is a question to James, instead of me just going over the whole thing. James, is there anything at all that comes to mind that we could try to put in our backlog to service your needs, or things that happen to you day to day that you feel need for? First thing that comes to your mind?
That's a great question. I'm most curious to hear others' input on this because, right, I think at the top of my list would be building up stronger pipelines. And what I mean by that is when I think about the relationship that most developers have, for example, with the people who stop by their server, their Discord server, say, to ask questions, it's a pretty unbalanced relationship. The way one person might come here and make a demand, and not really be recognizing the opportunity to learn more about a tool. So at a very high level, that's what I would love to see more and more of our dev organizations, whether it's a for-profit company like Maestro or an open source project like Mesh. Let's make sure that when people are coming looking for a quick answer, we're really teaching them to fish, if that makes sense. But what else comes to mind for everybody else?
So on this point here, maybe, I'm not sure if Marvin, do you want to say a word about CBIA?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't know if people are aware of the CBIA, but it's and you can share the website.
Yeah.
So it's a new alliance that we put together. So, as infrastructure provider, we are familiar with all the top, infra provider, TXPipe, Mesh, and we thought that there could be a opportunity for us to kind of come together and do more like large scale collaboration. A lot of us are maybe, reinventing the wheel, or could find better ways to, address bigger challenges together. A lot of us are like, core experts in understanding the Cardano at the core. And we thought we could kind of bring that under this, what we call the Cardano Blockchain Infrastructure Alliance. So it's an alliance that we meet once a month, and we kind of discuss, room for better improvements around standards, or maybe future collaborations, or ways where we can, improve, the ecosystem in general, and just overall also have a voice, So that's why we've also kind of invited, Cardano Foundation, IOG, and even like Emergo. They're aware of us, and it gives us like a line of communication. So from the community, we have our own opinions and our own kind of views on how, we see the space grow and evolve as an ecosystem. And we want to make sure that we have an avenue for our voice to be heard, and for the community to come to us and say, hey, we would love to like have this proposal, in the eyes of IOG or Cardano Foundation. This is a great opportunity, to kind of collect all those ideas and proposals, and kind of do it through the CBIA as kind of like a bilateral like line of communication with this organization. And so we're just getting started. We've been doing this for like 3 months. We actually record all our meetings. Actually, the last time was the first time we recorded our meeting, but we record our meetings. We've had people like the Hydra team coming in, We potentially have the Mythworld team coming next time. We had Chris with the Ouroboros library coming in. So we always have presentations, a bit like you guys have here, where we bring people that are building infrastructure and talk about it. And then we usually follow through with like discussions around kind of common projects or interests and collaborations. So yeah, I invite people to check out the website. And if you want to join the meeting, let us know, or you can even listen to our recordings on YouTube.
Great stuff. Any feedback, guys? I never see the participants now. I don't know if anyone has his hand up.
Lucas,
Okay.
I paste a
Yep.
link inside the mirror board
Mhm.
about that certification and how that can be done about that certification. But it's
Yep.
something about the future, you know. It's even the SIP hasn't been active. I mean, so but in future maybe that would be a service Maestro can do. And actually, there are other entities like Block Frost are getting they got interested through MLab to do this, but we are me and James are focusing on doing that with Dandelion, and of course with the library that's already been built for this. So yeah, but it can be a feature,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
I passed some feature which I really want to see one day on Cardano about UTXO bands. I mean age.
Okay.
And this is really important for on-chain analysis and sentiment of trading. And some DEX and some entities they would use this information. They are using this information on Bitcoin to track and to get metadata out of metadata. So if it is possible, I think it would be really great. So and there are already projects like Crypto Quant, like Mazari, you know, all sort of these on-chain analysis and data miners. They can use this your guys' service to just track the UTXO age and all sort of information about that in Cardano.
Great stuff. I usually see those types of things on yeah, like you're saying, Bitcoin or other UTXO based things, and yeah, it's something that maybe could be really interesting to develop around here. Yeah, so it's just one more section that I didn't over through developer tooling. So here we have links for our dashboard that Varderes was taking us over, the API reference, documentation, and for example, this is something that we want to develop a bit more, and that's what I put in there in terms of how we can, you know, show up a bit more and be a part of PBBL. So, for example, this guide that Varderes put together with ngrok, getting the instant status and updated status of a TX is something that maybe could be included in the further reading parts of PBBL. And then, yeah, the mesh provider, we're coding it currently, some SDKs in different languages, Lucid provider, and Atlas PAP is something that we're actually close to as well. So all this is something that, you know, this is actually a picture that I wanted to put together to ask you guys what is missing from this picture. So in terms of what needs to be built, what are we not putting in our radar? Any thoughts here?
And our goal is really to like integrate with as many tools as possible. So, you know, there's Lucid, Atlas, even potentially ICANN, Mesh. You know, they're doing like the off-chain transaction building, which is not at all kind of like our turf, right? We're more like one level lower, where we provide kind of index data and we interface with the blockchain. So think of it as like reading and writing to the node. So we read an unindexed data and then we write by submit transaction. But when it comes to like off-chain transaction building and off-chain kind of contract execution, this is better done by these tools that already work very well and are like well adopted in the ecosystem. So it's just providing them kind of a different choice of a data provider.
Okay. Yeah. Any thoughts, guys? Just here as well. Yeah, I'm going to drop you these links for us. And my role in Maestro is a bit to work on the developer experience as well. So I'll be your first point of contact if you have any questions. And yeah, for example, on our Discord, we have a channel just to get feedback about that platform. Reach out. Don't be shy. Don't, if you're lost, if you need any kind of orientation, that's what I'm there for. And the whole team is very, very close as well. So yeah, please be in touch. I don't have anything else for now. So.
I see A's hand up.
Okay.
Yeah, I think some people are overseeing that because the questions I ask may make some people a little bit uncomfortable. But yeah, just to quickly go back to the opinionated thing, I think it's important to understand, even in this context of this DApp marketplace that you're talking about, opinions actually do matter. And I'll just going through your terms and conditions and privacy policy, and I think it's important to have clarity in this context, right? Especially as we get closer to talking about governance, talking about regulators who are not particularly acting in the best of faiths, for lack of a better word. So my question is, how are you thinking about the legal side of things here? Because it's all well and good to to collate all these off-chain services, etc., and say, hey, we are basically looking to be the Alchemy equivalent, but for Cardano at the moment. And in that particular context, Alchemy, I think, makes sense. Building on Infura and all the other stuff that they build upon. In the context of Cardano, like, we don't have the technical disabilities that they have there. Like, the opportunity to actually do things in a really decentralized way here is super important. So whenever anyone comes along and says, hey, I'm looking to make stuff easy, obviously you must be having an opinion, and that opinion will set in motion trends, which then, if those trends violate the spirit of decentralization and scalability and security, I will be critical. And I think folks ought to to question that, right? It's not sufficient to just shrug it, especially if you're coming to Gimbal, to talk to folks at Gimbal. It's not particularly sort of rose tinted here. So anyway, yeah, so my question is, you guys are basically a data provider. In your privacy policy, you've mentioned there's some allusions to respecting the privacy rights, whether it has to do with like GDPR or stuff like that. I think you need to do a better job at defining, for example, in those documents, there isn't a distinction between a person visiting your website and the data which you will be processing as this API provider or any other services which you have. Right, that in and of itself is something quite important. And obviously you've got other stuff in terms of how you actually technically process that data. In those documents, you've said, hey, we do not collect personally any PII or personally identifiable information, but we do collect all these other bits of information, and we might connect the dots, kind of thing, right? So if you're connecting like IP addresses and all sorts of user agent stuff, and then you have all this data from the transaction side of things, like it's basically this intersection where it brings a lot of questions to mind with regards to data handling and just data governance in general, right? So I think this broader conversation needs to be had, as opposed to just sort of coming and saying, hey, we have this service which we're looking to monetize soon, and we just want to know how we can sort of tap into the developer ecosystem. That's cool, but the broader side of things, you need to be able to engage in a way that fosters and engages and nurtures faith and trust in you acting in the best faith, and because that begets more adoption as well. But anyway, rant over.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if there was a question, but I understand where you're coming from, and yeah, we can do better at maybe communicating our intent and what we're trying to do. Our goal is to be as transparent as possible, and at the end of the day, it's about choice. These tools are just building blocks for other people to use, and there will always be different options for people to run their own infrastructure, run our own indexers. Mesh has multiple data providers. It will be up to the user to select the data provider that they feel meets their values and align with what they want. And we never want to take that away from anyone, right? So we're not locking people in. We're giving people choices. We're trying to focus, on optimizing for enterprise grade and scalability and reliability. And that requires us to manage those nodes ourselves, right? And so but maybe other providers that run things themselves or allow people to self-host, right? Give that level of decentralized that you're talking about, but that means you need that level of technicality, right, to do that. And maybe for certain use cases, it's not exactly what users are looking for. So it's all about choice. There'll be the idea is to allow the community to decide for themselves. Regarding handling data, I mean, everything we do is public information, right? So we on-chain public data that's already available for everyone, and then we submit transactions that are public on the network. And so we're kind of the pipelines of interfacing between the blockchain, but there is still this trail, right, of auditability, where you can see exactly if the data was indexed properly and if the transaction was submitted properly, because it ends up on chain at the end. And so there's nothing under the hood, right, extra that we're really doing there, apart from you creating an account, so you can pay for the subscription. Really, that's really all we manage in terms of personal information.
Okay, guys, not sure if we have anything else for today. If there's any questions from anyone, I just want to go ahead and thank everyone that came by, because this was a great turnout. And I think we had great discussions. Again, invite you guys to come and try Maestro and give us feedback, or consider to give us any challenges, any requests of what you think could be useful for you. I'm really, I've been working on this for 2-3 months already in detail, I thought, and then coming here and see it being fireproofed by the gurus that I've known for a while was really interesting. I hope we can do this again eventually. Well, as I said, and as we were explaining, we're going to be having news and novelties and new features. So I hope we can continue this discussion in future visits.
Absolutely. It's great to have you guys here. I appreciate making the space for some harder questions, and I hope we can keep going deeper into those moving forward. We have a lot of new ground to cover, right? Like what is the relationship between an open source project like Mesh building an access point for a paid service like Maestro, right? And what's the relationship between a paid service like Maestro and a free educational program like Gimbalabs provides, but that seeks to teach more developers what the value of a tool like Maestro is. So I'm excited to keep having those conversations and look for truly world-changing ways to keep these collaborations going. Thanks for starting here, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank you very
y'all
much for
coming.
having us. Thank you very much.
Well done, guys. And don't worry, we are going to break it down.
Oh, we're going to do
That's
everything
what
we
we
can
do.
to break it. You're damn right.
Amazing. We love it.
Can't wait. All right, it's going to be
Oh,
fun.
by the way,
Thanks for
we're
stopping
on
by.
Telegram. I dropped you the Telegram. It's the simplest way to just DM with us if you're not a Discord fan or something. Drop by, keep in touch. That's for Mix
I
and
don't know what a
for everyone.
Telegram is. I'm not-
Cheers,
right.
guys.